Welcome to Your Career Story podcast, a show that's designed for rockstar professionals looking for that extra booster shot of confidence in their careers. Whether you're trying to get clarity on a job transition, want some work-life balance inspiration, or need a strategy to snag that promotion or raise, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Jenna Viviano, ex-Wall Streeter turned startup junkie who now coaches hundreds of clients, empowering them to take back control of the job search and land their dream job. So sit back, grab a glass of wine, and prepare yourself for your weekly boost of career confidence. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Your Career Story podcast. We are super excited to have you here for the Enneagram bonus bingeable series that we have going on. And today we're talking all about the type 9. So before we get into all the nitty-gritties that Lauren has to share, the amazing content that she has, we're just going to remind people that the Enneagram is a tool for you to use for self-awareness purposes. And if you are using it to relate to other people, it's purely supposed to be for compassion and understanding. The goal is not to fix people. So we have to use that as a disclaimer because I know that I have that tendency to do that too, but it's not intended to do that. So Lauren, talk to us about the type 9.
Okay. The type 9s are the peaceful person, or sometimes called the peacemaker or the mediator.
Okay.
9s are steady and balanced in their approach to work and relationships. They can see all the sides of an issue and are able to bring people together in a spirit of cooperation and harmony. Their challenge is to stay focused on the priorities and to stick up for their own position, even if that involves discomfort or conflict.
Okay, so what are the biggest fears that they have or motivations that they have?
Yeah, so 9s do not want to have any conflict at all. So they are avoiding conflict both internally and externally.
Interesting. Okay.
So tendency is for 9s to be the most tired of all of the 9 types.
Wow.
Because they are constantly trying to manage their inner peace and manage the peace around them.
Yes, that would be exhausting.
So it is exhausting. Yes. But they are so good at bringing people together.
I love that. What are some other strengths and weaknesses that a type 9 has? I actually have a couple of clients right now, which is not typical for me to have 9s. I usually have 3s. That's just typically.
Well, what's interesting about a 9, when they are feeling really good, they go to the high side of 3. Oh. So a lot of 9s, if they are secure in their work, will act more like a 3 than like a 9 at work, but tend to be more like a 9 at home if they feel strong. I have a very good friend that a lot of times I sit and think, are you really a 9?
Yeah.
Because the way he talks about work and thinks about work is very much like a 3. But yes, you'll see some strong 3 tendencies come out in 9s when they're in their job.
Okay. Or that makes sense.
Which is great.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yes.
So what are some of those strengths?
So one thing that they can do is hold 2 contradictory positions at the same time and see the value in both. So they can talk to one person on a team and hear their point of view and really understand it and get it. And they can talk to somebody with another point of view and really understand it and get it. And hopefully they can use their powers to bring those people together to find a consensus. They're great in groups to be able to find the harmony and bring a lot of these viewpoints into cooperation with each other. They can make sure everyone in the group is heard. They notice who has not had a voice.
Wow.
And they'll encourage people,
what
to
a great
speak
quality.
up. Yeah. Because a lot of time, many
Especially
of us,
in work.
Right. Many of us are so focused on our own agenda. You're not noticing if somebody has not had a voice yet, but 9s do.
9s notice. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes their strengths can become weaknesses.
Sure. As with all the types.
Yes. So since they have the ability to see both sides of an issue very clearly and empathize with both sides, they will have a very difficult time deciding what they actually think. And so decision making can be hard for them because they can see so many different possibilities as valid. And to avoid conflict, they will tend to merge their opinion with somebody else's. So it just sometimes feels easier for the 9 to go along even if it's not really a direction that they would like to go, to avoid that conflict.
Yeah, I feel like that's really interesting. I have a couple of 9s that I do know. Over time, you just realize that they're like, okay, so what you have to kind of dig deeper with them,
Absolutely.
right? And say, like, what do you actually want? Once you know that they're a 9, it's allowing them to have the space to speak up for themselves, which I'm sure we're going to get into of how to communicate better. But
yes, for sure. 9s can also be easily distracted. So since they see equal value in lots of different things, their priority list is flat. So they tend to have a hard time being able to say, well, I need to get this done before this, before this, before this. And so then they sometimes can feel paralyzed and not do anything.
Sure.
Or they will be busy, but not on the right things that they should have gotten done first.
Gotcha. So I could see that being an issue if you're working on a team with people.
Yes.
And maybe the feedback is you don't delegate enough, or you're being too perfectionistic about something, perhaps,
right.
even, especially if they lean on the one side. You know, you can see a lot of that happening.
For sure. Or if they're doing things out of order, out of sequence that needs to be done.
Yes.
They really do genuinely look at a list and go, I don't know what's the most important thing here.
Okay. So, awesome. So, okay, let's say that we have a 9 on our team, or we're leading a 9. What does that look like? How do we communicate best? How do we love our 9s?
Yes. All right. Well, one thing to know about a 9 is you don't want to mistake a 9's silence or affirming words for agreement.
Okay.
So they will look at you, they will nod their head, they will say yes in response to what you're saying. But as one of my 9 friends told me one time, I'm saying yes, I understand what you're saying, not yes, I agree with you. And so my response to her was, I'm going to need you to be really clear with me because I take your yes as, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, no, it's just, yes, I understand. I'm like, okay, well, that's good to know. So that means that if you're on a team with a 9 or you lead a 9, you're going to have to follow up with that and say, okay, you said yes to this. Is that something that you can do? Or is that your position?
Sure.
And they may have a hard time saying, yes, that's my opinion. But you need to ask them. One thing that makes me have so much compassion for 9s is they don't feel like their opinion is valid or worthy of being expressed.
Oh.
I know. So, and that's why they tend to hold back.
Yeah.
And go with whatever the group consensus is or whatever the strong personality wants to do.
Sure.
So inviting them in to conversations, inviting them to share their opinion, and then again, giving them the space to do it, not filling the silence, not interrupting. And if a 9 ever does take the risk to just assert an opinion, that needs to send off bells and lights in your brain to go, we need to pay attention to this because they have taken a huge risk to volunteer something. And that means it's something that they're very passionate about.
Sure. Yeah. So being very conscientious of that as somebody who's working with them.
Yes. Don't multitask when you're talking to a 9. They're going to feel deflated if you seem like your attention is on something else. Like, because they're already thinking they're not important. So if you show them with your body language or with your attention being somewhere else that they're not your focus, then that will just kind of make them want to back up.
Yeah. Do they shut down then in that instance, do you feel like?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. 9s will withdraw and they'll say, oh, well, my opinion wasn't needed here. So I'll just kind of go with whatever is happening.
Okay. That can just be, I'm sure, like very frustrating from their perspective.
Yeah. Well, so they're not going to want to think about that part.
Sure.
Because that messes up their peace. So they're going to go asleep to their desire. So if they feel like they have an opinion that they want to express, if it's rejected, they'll go, okay, I didn't care about that anyway. So I'm just going to go along.
Okay.
I'm just going to go along because it's easier to go along than risk the conflict.
Have we convinced you to get obsessed with the Enneagram yet? Yeah, we thought so, which is why we wanted to send you into this holiday season with a little something so you can continue your Enneagram education. Head on over to www.genevieviano.com/type to download our free guide, Learn Your Type, Love Your Coworker. This guide is a complement to the bonus Bingeable podcast series, and we've made it stupid simple to understand the Enneagram, your type, and how it can work for your career. We really, truly believe that the Enneagram is the best tool out there for teams. So we want to equip you to be the best rockstar professional you can be. Again, head on over to www.genevieviano.com/type to download Learn Your Type, Love Your Coworker. Okay, let's hop back into my conversation with Lauren. Okay, so what can people who are nines grow in that? I think that's perfect segue, actually.
Yeah. So nines, again, you're going to have to practice some solitude. And then ask yourself, what do you want? Mm-hmm. And then say to yourself, no, what do you really want?
Yeah.
Because nines tend to merge with other people's ideas. So if the question is, what do you want? You might think, well, what does my family want? Or what does my significant other want? Or what does the boss want? And then you've got to go, nope, what do I really actually want? And make that a practice. Because nines don't know. They really don't know. Just like twos don't know what they need. Threes a lot of times don't know what they feel.
Yep.
Nines don't know what they want. And so it's good for them to take time to explore that.
I love that.
And to say yes to their desires.
Sure.
And that can be an okay thing.
I think that's great for people that are switching careers. If you're a nine, thinking through that, it's a really hard question for anybody to ask. Like, what do I want in my career?
Right.
But specifically for nines, I can understand that would feel very like, what do I want? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that. I've done what everybody else has wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And so how do I actually hit pause and say, what are the things that I need? What are the things that I want? I think a great question for those of you that are listening that are maybe in the career changing space or wanting to move on to another career is asking yourself, like, what does your ideal day look like? Start with your morning if that feels too overwhelming. What's your morning look like? And what do you want to feel at the end of every day?
That's good.
Because those questions are going to help frame up and get you a little bit clearer on what you actually want. And also being okay that if it's not that, it'll be something else.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to pivot, and it's better to make some action at some point than to live in the paralysis analysis or analysis paralysis, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's move on to the next one.
All right. So another thing nines can do, they have to realize that their point of view is just as important to the discussion as anyone else's. And this is hard because nines don't feel like they are worthy enough to bring their opinion. Wow. And that's not true because they bring so many good things to the team.
You preach it over them, girl.
They do. So one way you can do this is once you've spent the time alone to know what you actually want and what you actually think, to practice telling your opinion sooner so that you won't confuse your own opinion with somebody else's.
Sure.
So when you have an opinion, going ahead and saying it and asserting what it is, so that when another louder voice in the room says theirs, you don't start to drift.
Sure.
And having an opinion is good.
Yeah.
Like we need you. Nines, we need you.
Yeah.
We do.
I love that idea of the fact that nines are able to see both sides of the equation because so many types do not. So many people just do not see both sides of something and are very, especially in today's culture and climate and, oh gosh, everybody has an opinion and that's it and done deal.
Right.
There is no room to see both sides. And so I just think that's such a beautiful quality, especially in the workplace where we can have people that may have very specific things that they believe in and that's that and moving on.
Totally.
Where the nine, you have that secret sauce, I think, that helps mesh people together that are on different sides of the spectrum and being able to be confident in that skill set. So
that's what's lacking, I think, in our culture right now is the ability.
More nines,
yes, bring us all to the middle, bring us all out of our corners and being able to talk to each other. So we need you. So here's one more tip for nines. Instead of just listing your tasks, take one more step and prioritize them. And if you need help prioritizing this, if it's, work tasks, your supervisor may be able to help you say, here's the things that I need to get done for this project. What do you want me to do first?
Sure.
Or talking to other people on your team. Or if you are the boss, here's the list of things that need to get done. Who on the team can do what and when.
Yes.
And having a project manager that can keep everybody on task.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if somebody thinks that they might be a 9, where do you recommend them go find out more about that?
Okay. This can be tricky because 9s, because they have insight into so many different things, they see themselves in a lot of different numbers.
That makes sense.
So taking a test is probably the worst thing for a 9.
Okay.
Well, you don't know you're 9 until you've done the work. But if you see yourself in a lot of different numbers, if you've listened to these and gone, oh, I might be that, I might be that, I might be that.
Sure.
Go read about the 9 because you have perspective into lots of different ways of seeing.
Sure.
And so
it might make it difficult.
It might make it difficult to find it. Yes. So a book I love to go to is Ian Morgan Cron and Suzanne Stabile's The Road Back to You. And they will particularly talk about this with nines, about how to find yourself when you see yourself in lots of different types.
Yeah.
But also you can go to the Enneagram Institute and look at their type descriptions. They're very thorough. But the best way is probably to be taught by a teacher or a coach, and that's what I am. So we can do team building exercises, coaching, so that your team that you work with can get to know each other better and learn how to work with each type.
Yeah, I think what's also really beautiful about the work that you do, and she is not whooping herself up enough, so I will. But I think it is the ability to identify different characteristics within a team and leveraging those personalities to do specific tasks and work so that people are actually using their skill set and instead of trying to change everybody to be very uniform, why don't we just celebrate their unique giftings and the way that they're created to create collaboration, cohesion, and just it helps move the organization forward. I believe that.
Yes.
And so, but you need somebody to help guide you through that. And that's what Lauren really does really well. So if you're a leader who's listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to have her on here, what you can do is you can go over to her website at www.laurenelkinsgray.com. And that's Gray with an A. And then if you want to learn more about the Enneagram types at work, which I highly recommend that you do, she has an awesome freebie for you guys, huge amount of value. I'm super excited for you guys to just learn from this whole experience. It's been super fun for me to learn too, but her freebie is at laurenelkinsgray.com/freebie. So definitely check that out. Guys, it's been super fun to share with you all the little bits and pieces about the Enneagram. We hope that you found this enjoyable, informative, and call Lauren. She's amazing. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for listening to Your Career Story podcast. I would love to get to meet you. And there are a couple of ways that we can connect in between episodes. First and foremost, you know I love my LinkedIn. Second is via Instagram. And third is over on my website. I actually have a special spot just for you full of fun, free resources. So all you have to do is go to www.jennaviviano.com/resources. Super simple for a bunch of freebies that will help you boost your career. Hope to see you next week.